Last time on Soul Riding, we witnessed James Allen's rise to glory. The year is 1938, and unemployment is rampant amidst the economic instability of the Great Depression. Business is in disarray after over 400,000 Canadians are laid off from their jobs through no fault of their own. Many cannot afford the basic necessities of life anymore, especially with relief payments, which came in the form of food and fuel, being so unreliable, only an average of 12% receiving them across Canada. The job market is dry, and with time being money, people are cornered into taking matters into their own hands without a second to spare, taking off to ride the rods in the hopes of seeing a brighter future. But firstly, a word from our lovely sponsor, Vaseline.
Vaseline. It's so pure you can eat it. Great for burns, cuts, wounds, and any skin issues. It's also perfect for giving yourself a gorgeous glow. With a rub of Vaseline on your lips, you too can replicate the beauty of famous actresses like Mary Pickford, feel and look like a starlet. For only 10 cents, purchase some versatile Vaseline. Look for Vaseline on the shelves at your nearest shop.
Back to the story.
As someone who never had to worry about his financial situation, James Allen was inexperienced in every aspect of the transient lifestyle. He was only recently evicted from his home after losing his job and no longer being able to pay the bills. Those who fled to the rails in order to relocate did so in desperation and had no choice because the possibility of employment was bleak where they lived.
Though riding the rods entailed a frustrating, often fruitless journey, what else could they do if they no longer had places to stay?
Luckily for James, Quickfoot Quinton, who earned the moniker for his speedy journeys and quick thinking, happened to be in the area. He manages to get by and help other unemployed men do so as well. Many people look up to him, and because of his adventurous nature, some people would even go far as to exaggerate how amazing he is, especially within the hobo jungles where he would offer an abundance of food. It was almost suspicious how successful he was for someone forced to participate in this unstable lifestyle. Yet, no one wanted to question what could just as easily be written off as the generous everyday contributions of a kind-hearted soul. Many people would sustain debilitating injuries, such as losing their limbs or losing their lives, and yet he was doing all right in spite of everything, better than most.
Those riding the rods would be on top of, beneath, hanging off the side of, though ideally inside the freight train. This is what made it so dangerous, as you could easily fall off and meet your end in the path of an ongoing train.
Hobos are not lazy, freeloading people.
They would ride the rods in order to take advantage of seasonal hiring in different areas. The financial crisis meant factories would hire more for just a few months at a time until the job was finished and the number of workers dropped once again. Transients riding the rods fulfilled these jobs, but they were usually only temporary.
I mean, running around on trains and sometimes stealing is a very skilled practice that not many people can do successfully, especially without being caught, you know?
Transients established their own shelters near railways where information on various job opportunities would be shared, and the companionship of their shared hardships brought them together. Hobo jungles were makeshift camps that consisted of collections of fire pits, logs to sit on, and places to sleep. They even developed ways of looking out for each other. Symbols and codes in chalk would be drawn on walls to direct those in the know to hobo jungles and communicate covertly.
Oh, and sometimes you've got to outrun the bulls. Well, if you're really good at this, you may get to pursue other endeavors.
This was by no means an easy, passive way of life. Hobos were people on a constant pursuit of prosperity. Railroad bulls, also known as the railroad police, posed a massive challenge for the riders, who were illegally tagging along by failing to pay the fare. While the train crew would sometimes be sympathetic, they could be just as cruel. It wasn't uncommon for hobos to be locked inside the boxcars until authorities arrived so they could be punished more severely. Quentin is now walking through the train as if showing us around.
This lifestyle isn't completely awful because we can at least lean on each other in the hobo jungles. But it's not all flowers and rainbows either, if you even see those anymore. Listen, I had this really good friend named Jack. He was tall, handsome, strong, and most of all, he was a ladies' man. People loved him. Well, one day he was riding the rails with me, and let's just say he had a little old slip. That little slip turned into a big slip, and I guess you could say he wasn't very big anymore.
Why would you tell me that?
A police officer charges towards Quentin, who swiftly avoids capture. Hey you, stop right there! Quentin is slightly out of breath and running to get off the departing train.
Oh no, see that angry, funny-looking man there? That's a bull.
Matching his name, Quickfoot Quinton jumps back onto the platform moments before the officer catches him. He stands up. After dusting himself off and adjusting his clothing, he walks over to a familiar face seated on the floor of the station.
James Allen, my man, when did you get here?
He looks up to respond in a little bit of annoyance and confusion.
What do you mean, when I get here? You left me here. You said you'd get us some money. Now look at you, all scruffy and gross.
Looking down at James, he pulls something out of his pocket and waves it around.
Oh, lighten up. I've got you as 5 spot. At least be a little grateful.
What am I gonna do with $5, you dimwit? It's been years since the economy flipped, and I still haven't managed to get back off the ground.
James stands up and takes the money out of Quentin's hands. Quentin puts his hands up, a mocking defense.
Fine, fine, do as you will, but don't get all upset when I stop helping you out. I don't really care how grand your industry was before the crash. You need to suck it up and deal with what you have. Not everyone's going to do all this for you.
Walking away, Quentin heads to the city with James following shortly after. As much as Quentin seems proud of himself, James is holding a grudge. The malnutrition and stress, something Quentin was familiar with by now, gets to James's head, and he stomps off aimlessly around the train station in a hungry rage.
Luckily, you can avoid malnutrition with the marvelous Kraft mac and cheese. Oh so cheesy, oh so creamy. The perfect quick cheesy pasta to cook, so you ladies at home don't have to spend too much time in the kitchen. Now that many of you have jobs as the rate of female employment rises, why waste time with a finicky recipe? In just 9 minutes or just 19 cents, you can feed 4 people and prepare Kraft mac and cheese with ease. Just relax and take it cheesy.
Back to the story.
Quickfoot Quentin and James Allen walk into the city. James looks at his surroundings, appalled as if he was at the city's dump. What he was seeing was many people's everyday reality. There were children starving and families shakily trying to make ends meet. Winter was coming soon, and many didn't have places to call home to sleep. Due to the crash, numerous had to give up their homes or have them forcefully taken away from them. Relying on just his savings and salaries of $9 an hour can only do so much in the present world.
You haven't seen this side of the city, huh? Even if you were affluent, this is how life was, though now it has worsened in response to the state of the economy.
James remains silent and continues to observe everyone and everything around him, as if looking at a public spectacle.
Anyways, you must be hungry after a long day, aren't I right?
Not at all. I am more on the exhausted side than hungry, but
Even if you're not, I sure as heck am. I know a good spot. Though, it's not the tastiest meal, it's the best we can get in this part of town.
He starts going on his way to the infamous soup kitchen that's just a block away from where they are. Quentin walks faster, as he is famished, but tries to keep a low profile so he won't be spotted by anyone he knows. James starts running to catch up, as he refuses to stay alone in the unfamiliar place he once used to call home.
Hey, wait up! I don't have 4 legs, you know! If it weren't for the stupid economy, I wouldn't be here, running around behind this man, acting like a fool.
A few minutes later,
After chasing you, we're finally here. And great, just my luck. This line is enormous. It's going to take forever to reach the front of that line. By the time we get to eat, which I doubt will ever come, winter will have already passed.
Should we go someplace else then? As you said, there probably won't be any food left by the time we reach our turn. I know another spot where the food is amazing, but can you handle going on another trip? We won't need to use our feet this time, and we'll get there far faster. I promise you, it'll be worth it.
Quentin coerces James into one last ride before winter, though it's not like James had many options otherwise. The number of transients riding freight trains would plummet in accordance with the colder weather. It was the perfect time to enact revenge on James, whose bitter worldview was clouded by a closed mind. Quentin always began schemes with the intention of genuinely helping, but things would often sour between him and his deceased companions, relationships strained by their shared burdens.
this wasn't the first time he would gain the trust of his associates only to pickpocket their lifeless corpse, and James Allen would for sure have lots of cash on him. If not, enough that could last him months even if it didn't seem like it. A man like him wouldn't walk around without his savings. His victims were easy targets. No land, no titles, and with the risk that came with running the rods, the death of his victims could be easily attributed to the conditions they already existed in. For someone as esteemed as Quickfoot Quentin, it was easy to maintain such a pristine reputation among the hobos when the only ones who saw your bad side would not live to tell the tale. Quentin strikes and scoffs at the evidence of his crime in pride.
Oh!
Easy to have gotten rid of the vermin that was James Allen.
Alan, I'm afraid you've met me at the wrong time. Things don't have to end like this. In this world, it's slay or be slain.
Anyways.
Bored with kids? Got nothing to do? Play Monopoly. The new rage. Travel along the block and purchase properties. Blow your wig. Don't play as if the nation or the entire world, in fact, is not suffering from financial misfortune. Now only $2 with tokens like Battleship, Boot, Cannon, Thimble, Top Hat, and Iron, and almost 30 different property cards. Sit back and enjoy being the one who makes others bankrupt.
Thank you to those who are listening and are still here. Tune in next time to Soul Riding for another story like James, and a special thanks to our sponsor, the Bennett Buggy. Things just go better with the Bennett Buggy.
If only James Allen rode one.